If confidence is one of the biggest keys in their sales career, and they're trying to go from 200,000 a year to 1 million, their confidence is worth $800,000 a year. At the end of the day, in today's complicated and complex environment, why are you listening to anybody? I want you to literally visualize the outcome of the experience that people get, the value that they get, right?
You are great at sales, but if you cannot reach the right audience, how are you gonna be able to sell your service to anyone,
Just
right?
if it doesn't work out, walk away and just know that you showed up and you served. If you're doing all of this and you're simply doing your best, you're gonna feel great as a salesperson. They're gonna be able to tell that what you care more about anything is serving them, and you're gonna win a lot more deals than you're gonna lose.
And the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes because that. Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm the founder of Thalassophile Studio, a boutique marketing agency.
Hi, I'm Justin Cross with Justin Cross Consulting.
So you live in Bangkok, right? How long have you been living here?
About 1 year and 8 months since August of, I guess, 2000 and whatever that would be, 2023.
Yeah, like time flies. So, fun fact, we actually met in Los Angeles randomly in the parking lot. And then we end up moving to Miami. We didn't know that we were in the same city. And now we're in the same city again in Bangkok. So, we're like, okay, this time we need to connect for real. So anyway, can you tell people about like what have you been doing in Bangkok? What are you working on? And yeah, what do you do?
Sure. Well, I originally came here to pursue a 6-month Muay Thai visa, and much is the story of people who come to Bangkok. They don't necessarily plan to, but they fall in love with all the dynamic infrastructure that's here for
Yeah.
transportation and the fun and the sun and the proximity to many different countries. And so I really loved the culture as well while I was here. And then I wanted to continue to pursue the dream of the digital nomad life, as it were, right? And how is that going to be possible? And so I was doing general business consulting the last probably 5 or 6 years, and even mixed in a little bit of like corporate work, and then realized that there was one specific thing that kept showing up in like every business, which was, how do we do sales better? Right? How do we generate more revenue specifically in the sales vertical? So I've decided in the last like year and a half to exclusively focus on just helping small to medium sized businesses or agents, like individual salespeople, just sell better and have a better quality of life as a salesperson.
And how do you structure your business? Like, do you like help them as like their in-house person, or are you more of a consultant, or do you coach people how to sales?
So there's one role where I use this phrase, I don't know if it's common knowledge to say, but as a fractional sales director, I have a couple of roles right now where I spend a few hours just managing sales teams for like, I would say under 20 employees, where I'll have like weekly meetings as my like metrics that I need to be able to improve of their weekly meetings and their one-on-one training. It could be anything from like mindset to day-to-day habits of mixing proactive versus reactive time management to just sell better or whatever. And then individual sales agents or individual executives that want better help to sell what they sell. Like, for example, like an individual entrepreneur that just wants to know, like, how do I have this amazing, passionate product or service? How do I sell it into the marketplace? I'm able to help them as well.
Awesome. So I own a marketing agency, but I don't know how to sell. I'm not a good salesperson. Can you teach me how to sell anything?
Well, I don't know if everybody believes you're not a great salesperson, because you seem like a great one to me. But yeah, your agency is amazing. And I know when we met, one of the things that we discovered was you had this amazing combination, which is what everybody listening has, which is some kind of like special zone that they thrive in, right? And like for her, it was the intersection of amazing aesthetic and like creative design and business. And so her particular value add for companies that we discovered was that she's not just going to make your company look aesthetically amazing, but also take into consideration what would be necessary in order to have it be economically feasible, and how we could actually quantify the results of a big investment in creative or creative design, et cetera. And so that's kind of like the big thing that I'm looking for, is what is in the entrepreneur's heart? What are you here for? What are you selling that correlates to your highest like value that you have individually? And that's a discovery process. It's something that people often are spending so much time thinking about, like, what are the dynamics of me just selling more instead of falling deeper in love with what they're doing, understanding how it correlates to like their like life design and life purpose, and like what can they show up with that naturally differentiates them, like you had that naturally in you. And like for example, when we explored like what are the key ways that you could actually offer a free value to people up front to demonstrate those exact two core competencies, you built out this amazing 5-step process that showed that, right? And so that's kind of one of the key first things that I look for with clients is like, are you in love with what you're selling? Do you feel inspired by what you're selling? Right? Do you know how it fits into the marketplace? And are you ready to talk about those specific things? So that forms like the baseline of psychology for them to move into the marketplace. So those are kind of like the first steps that we usually take, whether it's an organization or just an individual salesperson.
When we had a meeting, we talk about these 5 pillars, like the framework that make my agency and my services and me as a person like unique. And so you think that every business like need that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's like a specific 3 or 5 things, the key thing is that you have a psychological framework that on any stage of your business, whether it's literally a stage speaking to your core audience, or whether it's talking to one individual prospect, or even talking to your own self about what you sell, you have these key value differentiators that you're proud of, that resonate, that you've already studied, are in the voice of your prospect. So the way that they would actually talk about your business. And a lot of times that's an act of love to take the time to break those out. Because when we think about it, you only need to know these sort of like 3 to 5 key differentiators that a lot of people in the same industry are offering the same thing, but you're able to really cut through with what matters that matches your core competencies. And now you're speaking powerfully in helping your prospect rapidly select you over the next person because you've taken the time to figure out what those are.
Okay, amazing. Well, I actually did not know about like these pillars like of the business before like having a meeting with you. But then after I came up with my own 5 pillar for my agency, I then look at another agency and I saw that they have the exact same thing. They are like, so I look at this agency, they're like an email marketing agency, and they also have this like 3 to 5 framework that set them apart. And what they do, how they like use it is that like they make people sign up for like their email list in exchange for a freebie, which is the PDF. But on top of that, they also like send out 3 email in on 3 different day until they on the third day they give away the PDF. So then they build like the story and the connection with the viewer before they actually hand out the PDF. But yeah, I think that's very cool. That's like it's something that I discovered because of you. So because I had a meeting with you already, like I feel like you could sell like anything. So what are some other stuff have you sold in the past or help other people sell?
Sure. Well, I've done luxury sales to as complicated as celebrity personas, from giant investment capital deals, working on commercial deals, as well as just selling individual smaller items in like manufacturing space. So I span a very wide landscape. But I think the things too that we could learn from is when somebody's buying a piece of real estate, which I did for literally 16 years, it's one of the biggest investment decisions of their life. And what the commonality is, I would say, of all these types of sales is to truly understand the client, right? And to truly understand their needs and be just fundamentally serving them. And like, for example, like when you've put the time in to come up with like, you know, your 5 components of your value proposition, you're now prepared to speak about those, but you're going to match those to what your prospect is talking about. So each time they bring up something that they care about, that's something that they're trying to solve, you're already prepared with what that aligns with in your value proposition.
Yeah.
And so for anybody listening to this, make sure that like whatever you're selling, you've clearly defined what those things are for yourself. And then I would say that like the common denominator of like high volume sales is consistently also the elephant in the room, which is just fundamental confidence, right? And like I just want to make a quick point that like the confidence comes from doing this work. It's not just like something that you develop as fundamental confidence, like as in your personal social life. It's literally knowing the market, right? Knowing what you offer. And what are you really doing in sales? You're serving the time, the most precious asset of your prospect. You're helping them make an informed decision faster and easier and with more trust, with more reliability. And that's an amazing act of service that makes your life feel richer and give your life more meaning as a salesperson, right? And so we can't take any shortcuts to be an awesome salesperson. We have to be able to really love what we do, love what we sell, love who we are. I know it might sound crazy that you actually have to have that self-love or self-confidence because it actually is portrayed, and it's something that people can tell, that the authenticity of the way you're selling comes across, right?
You mentioned you sell like real estate for 16 years, and you know houses in America are like millions of dollars. So is there any difference between selling my service that start at $1,000 and selling houses that start at like let's say $1 million?
No, Sophia, that is an excellent question. I would compare sitting down with a group of 8 investors from Africa who were buying a large commercial building and trying to close that sale versus recently working with a digital marketing firm that was just selling like a $500 to $1,500 user-generated content UGC package. You're literally dealing with hundreds of thousands of difference in what the prospect is buying, right?
Yes.
And I would say that the core similarities is the things that we've discussed in the sense of really deeply thinking about the other person and what they genuinely need and giving yourself time to learn what that is by giving yourself the go into the gym doing the reps thing. Like literally at the end of the day, you need to show up a certain amount of times to kind of test whether you care about selling that which you're selling. And there's a certain amount of pain that comes with tearing your muscle in the gym, so to speak, before it builds. And you have to possess a mindset where you're willing to go through enough reps to literally listen to how people do that. Because when we sell, we're holding emotional space. There's a lot of actual science about how with sales, there's an irony to it that we need to be able to hold emotional space because what are all buying decisions? Emotion.
Right.
There's some logic in it, right? But the ultimate decision is actually purely emotional. And so with that being said, if we know that it's ultimately, because there is no official correct answer every time, right? And so we need to be able to hold that emotional space for a prospect. And that means you have to have your mind right and you have to be able to hold that space. And sometimes salespeople don't get enough credit because they're doing that all day long. Imagine theoretically having to help someone in both those things that we just described, like dealing with 8 individuals who have dynamic life stories trying to make this massive multi-million-dollar decision, or just one individual company trying to decide if they want this new thing called user-generated content. In both cases, you have to be prepared to hold the emotional bandwidth, listen carefully to them, and care about their outcome and care about how they feel. And then remember, knowing those key value differentiators so that you're ready, willing, and excited to share them. And then also be willing to just, if it doesn't work out, walk away and just know that you showed up and you served. And that's the key thing. If you're doing all of this and you're simply doing your best, you're going to feel great as a salesperson. They're going to be able to tell that what you care more about anything is serving them, and you're going to win a lot more deals than you're going to lose.
Awesome. That's a really good like insight. Actually, it's not that different from marketing, because for marketing, there's also emotional marketing. You need to be able to connect with people on the emotional level, basically feel what they feel, and then try to offer them the solution. For example, you know, those weight loss ads. Right? Yes, when the ads start talking about like I used to weight 200 pounds, 200 kilogram or whatever, and now I weight like 100 pounds, 50 kilogram. I'm able to lose weight quickly because of this. That already like trying to like establish emotional connection with the audience, with the potential buyer, customer. That like, okay, I understand you because I've gone through the exact same like thing you have gone through, and I found a solution. So you should trust me because I know that this solution had helped me, so it's gonna help you as well.
Yeah, and one of the probably most difficult components of the sales process, the sales dance, the sales close, right, is this particular unique space, which is being willing to talk about the pain that they're in. And I'll give you an example. There's a famous marketer that said if you want to sell a fire hydrant, the first thing you need to do is talk about the fire. Okay.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when we're selling, and everyone listening to this, if you're still listening to this particular portion and you're wondering about like why you might not be getting those closes when everybody clearly likes you, they clearly think you know what you're doing, but they're not buying, you may not have connected deeply enough emotionally. And specifically what I mean is they might need to talk a little bit more. And most prospects do, they just don't know it about what they're experiencing. Right? So if they come to you, they're thinking about buying this elaborate, expensive, significant investment in their life, right? They might need to review what they've already looked at. So you can ask a question like, just curious, what have you already done for research on this, or what options have you already explored? Because they're going to kind of appreciate connecting with you on that, and then kind of level setting their logic, because you're helping them as a salesperson logically and sequentially make a decision. Like, let's think about it. That's what we're doing. We're helping them make a decision. We're not attached to the outcome. They love that and they can feel that, but we're trying to help them move through that. And so part of that is talking about what have you already tried, right? What is right now your biggest pressing need? How important is this to you right now? Like, are you just sort of researching, or are you really looking to actually solve this and move on? So just be willing to learn the art of being comfortable with exploring those emotive components of the decision-making process, even when it's painful.
Got it. Well, that's it, an interesting like insight for sure. Well, I have a question. So, how do you sales to people who don't necessarily have the budget for it? Like, for example, someone is looking for a house and they found this great house, 3 bedroom, and it's like their budget is $1 million, but the house is 1.3 million. Like, how do you sell them that house, or maybe you should not sell them the house?
I think it's an amazing question. And especially when we're so excited about what we sell, we want to sell to anybody who says yes, right? And what I've learned for sure, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and a lot of the biggest names in sales teach the opposite of what I'm about to tell you right now. But I've had an incredible success rate with kindly and directly explaining to somebody, listen, when I'm looking at your situation right now, my perception is it's not the right time for you to buy. And I'll tell you why, because of this, this, and this. And here's what I'm going to suggest for the steps that you to take. And when you're ready, I'm going to be ready to serve you. And what ends up happening is they are so appreciative that you were able to get complete clarity for them, that they will never forgive you, never forget you, and they'll refer you to their friends, because they're like, I've never met a salesperson who's sitting there
So
looking at
honest.
just that total honesty and transparency, and just
Yeah.
be like, listen, I don't think you should go this direction. Have you considered this? What might be a lower tier option? And then if they kind of want to push it, then you have to get even more transparent and be like, for example, in the real estate example, I would say, I actually would never be able to allow myself to work with someone that's not pre-qualified, that has a piece of pre-approval in hand. And I would tell them the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification, and just let them know, like, at the end of the day, if you're not pre-approved, we're going to waste all of our time, right? And that's not going to be good for them. So I'm
Yeah.
going to share that with them, and then just kind of walk them through the steps that I think that they should take, and make sure we're on the same page. And usually they get a lot of energy and excitement, and they'll appreciate you forever for doing that.
So my next question is, what are like 1 to 2 things that most people are struggling with sales right now?
I would say they have lost track of how much amazing ability they have. They're so busy in trying to tackle the many things that come up with the art of sales, and worrying about their sales team, worrying about their script, worrying about their closing ratios, worrying about how they even go about the closing process, and many, many, many more issues. And what happens is their focus is there, and they actually forget that they're offering something beautiful and they are great at it, right? And so taking the time to get tapped back into just the fundamental of being able to just show up and have a great opportunity to serve somebody and just go back to the basics is something that I'm actually ending up needing to coach both teams, executives, and individual agents, which is technically just mindset, sales mindset. But let's be honest, nobody's watching this right now being like, I need to work on my sales mindset. But at the end of the day, it ends up being like the psychology of sales is getting them back into that grounded space where they feel like they're totally ready to sell what they have just because they're excited about what they're trying to sell, not because they went and bought the new CRM that's going to help them with their daily habits, right? Like not because they went out and like bought some new training, because there's plenty of training available for free online, right? But what's going to get you right here back to being like, I want to sell what I sell today. I want real conversations really on my calendar this week for real, and I want to like sell what I have. As crazy as it sounds, that's one of the most common like issues to overcome that I help people with, right?
Okay, so then well, it's way easier for like a business owner to be passionate about what they're selling because it's their like product, it's their baby. But how do you teach a sales rep at a company that are just working there and then, like as a normal employee to be passionate about the product they're selling?
That's a phenomenal question. And one of the key things is to start to align the goals and the visions and the culture and of both the organization as well as the individual agent. So let's give an example, right? Let's say the corporate's like, we got a corporate monthly goal for sales quota that we want, right? Well, it's like inherently, even if the sales team is compensated, they may or may not be motivated. However, if that sales team has very clear personal goals, which is where I help sales team get to, where they're trying to accomplish things and it's aligned with the company's culture, it's aligned with the company's financial goal, they're going to be able to be inherently much more motivated because they've taken the time to see how their sort of life design, life purpose aligns with what the company is selling. And they themselves sometimes need to do everything we've talked about to refresh whether they're excited about what they sell. Like they need to not just be like, well, it's my job, so I sell this thing. Like you are responsible as an individual sales agent or employee to discover that lane of competency and that consistency of sales approach with what you sell. And you need to be willing to own that and voice it and work on it. And so sometimes when we get into a team, we have to have one-on-one interviews and just kind of find out, you know, where is the gap between you returning back to that confidence that we talked about earlier.
So we already talked about the sales mindset. The next question I want to ask you is about the sales language because you taught me about the sales language, but you know it's not like a natural language that like I would subconsciously know how to like bring it out and talk about. So can you tell people more about the sales language and teach them about it?
Yeah, that's a great thing to ponder because even if you get all excited and confident and you're like, this is going to be great, and then you go to speak and it's like, okay, how do I exactly resonate with the client? So let's go back and look at the assumption that you've connected with the client. They have told you why they're even there in the first place, what they're interested in, why they're interested in it, and you feel like you're ready now to kind of like move and shift to helping them guide to a decision, right? And so now you need sales language to do that. When you right now think about what you're trying to sell, the thing I want you to be thinking about is the outcome that you actually provide. So I want you to literally visualize the outcome of the experience that people get, the value that they get, right? So keep that in mind. And then you start to bridge that gap of languaging, of being able to answer and speak not only about the things that they told you they're interested in, but with the outcome in mind.
So what would be your tip to learning the sales language?
Sure. At first, for sure, you can like study sales scripts or just write your sales scripts. And I would say that here would be a simple way to do it. whatever the key pieces to like the thing that you're selling are. And let's just use one example of something that's hard to sell. Maybe someone here is trying to sell coaching, like holistic healing or mindset. How do you quantify the sales language for that? Well, here's an example. If you're selling mindset and someone's more confident, if confidence is one of the biggest keys in their sales career and they're trying to go from 200,000 a year to 1 million, their confidence is worth $800,000 a year because the one thing they're missing, right? So now as I'm selling mindset, if they're telling me the reason I want to consider mindset is so my confidence can go up. Now we can talk about how that missing piece to their puzzle is going to help fill in that gap and at least optimize the chances to access that $800,000. So if that's important to them and their goals are important, let's move forward with the mindset coaching program. So now we're quantifying what we've done to create that sale language. We've scripted it so we can get comfortable with it. And then we're practicing the art of using and caring about what they're speaking about and aligning that with our sales language.
That's amazing. So then what would be the next step? So let's say that, for example, let's say I have like this business, like holistic coach, holistic, what is it, like consulting?
Exactly, like a wellness coach or a
Okay.
mindset coach.
Okay, let's say I'm a wellness or a mindset coach. Like after learning the sale mindset and the sale language, how would I then go to someone and sell? Could you give me like an example of how to sell to like a random person?
Yeah. I think the number one thing to do is to determine what do you like? Where do you like to show up? And here's what I mean. Are you an introvert that loves to create blog posts all day long and can't stop with a coffee and a laptop of just putting out a bunch of content? Great. Are you someone who can't wait to get on stage and you frankly love the way that you look on camera, so you're like, I just want to like selfie it up all day long, right? If you, depending on where you fall on that, get on the stage that you love, right? And the people will resonate with everything that we just talked about in this video. They're going to resonate with you. And then guess what? They're going to mirror all of that same experience in person when you actually deliver that love and that care for their journey. And what I mean by that is you're holding that emotional space for them. You're helping them one-on-one, just literally just talk to you about why they want what you already sell because they already found you in the marketing medium that's good for you. In other words, if you're an extrovert, get on stage, get on social media, however you want to do it. Networking, is that your thing? Great. What I always tell my clients is focus on one or two things because that's going to put you in a sales landscape or a sales domain where you're going to thrive because you're going to apply the things we talked about today and crush it.
That's amazing. So like myself, for example, I told Justin that I don't like to like go talk to people. I like networking, but not intentional like networking. Like I don't really like going to like networking event and like start like talking about my whole life story. But if I meet people like randomly, like friends of friends, or I meet people at a coffee shop or whatever activity I do, say go to a yoga center, then
Yeah.
it's much easier for me to talk to them. Anyway, my point is that like we had a chat and then we agreed that like the best way for me to do sales and marketing is to create more content because that is what I'm passionate about. I'm a content creator at heart. I love being creative, that which is why I started this YouTube channel. I want to document my life, how I, started my agency and how it is going. And also like I have like these series where I interview inspiring people like you to come like share the story to other people because everyone has a unique story and I think everyone has a story that other people can learn from. And the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistake because that's going to be the cheapest way to learn. Because there are many mistakes I have made in my career, in my businesses that cost me a lot of money. Do you have any like experience like that with your sales career?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one for me, and if anyone's listening to this and they're going through this, is just being so impatient during the process of the natural evolution of figuring out the best thing for you to sell. Meaning, if you're a consultant or a coach or you're an agent, you might not have found the exact right niche yet. you're close, but you might just not be locked in. You might be this close. You might have been in the same insurance company or mortgage company for a few years, right? And generally speaking, you're selling a certain thing, but there's a certain sub niche that you might be so thrilled about, right? And so the biggest mistake I made was being so hard on myself for years, especially the last probably like a couple of years, and just waiting for the right thing to show up. Because as soon as I focused on sales, there was sales teams, there was individual sales agents, and I was like, this is easy to serve them, this is easy to help them. I've lived this for 20 plus years. And so what I encourage you to do to avoid that mistake is just be patient with yourself while you discover that, right? And I know it's not always easy to do when you got to pay bills, but that's my point, is be patient with yourself and let yourself discover what you truly love, what you truly inspire, what you truly want to sell, and then enjoy it from there.
That's a great advice. Like being patient is a virtue. So like it's something that a lot of like I would say younger people these days are lacking, not these days, younger people in general are lacking patience. When I was younger, I was also not as patient. Um, but so that is a great advice, like to be more patient, especially be patient with yourself. Um, so because you've been doing sale for like, so many years, you have like a lot of real world experience. And of course you can sell like most thing, like you can sell anything maybe.
Yeah.
How would you differentiate yourself from another sales coach?
In today's landscape of business with the accessibility of multimedia, I'm going to come and tell you exactly what you can expect up front from not only my sales consulting, but also the key philosophies that make me different. So like, I'll give you like one of those examples, right? So I think there's a lot of obsession about scripting and the technicalities of like the actual sales delivery process, right? But I would much rather see somebody, like we've talked about as kind of a theme of this whole conversation, be inspired by what they sell, know what their value proposition is, as opposed to the mechanical act of reading off of a script. And I'm not saying scripting is bad, but an example would be like, I will help individuals be able to reconnect with that and show them exactly how. So this is the answer to your question. I would walk them through how that's so much more powerful and how you'll be able to generate so much more revenue and get so much better closing rates by having that first fundamental step of confidence and having that first step of clarity around the polarizing messaging that you're using, that you love, that you're excited about, and a product that you love, that you're excited about, or a service that you're excited about. And so like teaching them that would be one example of what would differentiate me, that at the end of the day, in today's complicated and complex environment, why are you listening to anybody? And it's because you resonate with them. And so I think maybe the second thing that differentiates me is my authenticity about what it is that I sell. I think that people can tell very quickly that I live this, that I'm doing it regularly, and that I'm in the trenches watching real transformations, which would maybe be number three, is just my resume of constant transformations like this week. So I could be able to provide people with like, here are case studies of specific companies and specific agents that I've worked with. And then also the content I put out speaks about those transformations, right? And I'm going to be filming some videos here soon, and it's going to walk through some of the things that we've talked about today that help individual prospects visualize these transformations for themselves so that they can be selling at their highest potential.
That's amazing. So you'll be filming some video very soon. I'm very happy for that because like when we had a consultation, he told me I need to like put out like about 10 to 20 videos to talk about marketing and talk about like my expertise. And I told him like, yeah, you should be doing the exact same thing. Why are you not doing that? Well, that's because it's easier to tell people, to teach people like what to do than to do it yourself. Because as a salesperson, a lot of salespeople, they don't like to do marketing. Same with a lot of marketing people like me, we don't like to sales. But you need both skill. Sales and marketing skill go hand in hand because like as much as like, okay, let's say I have great marketing services, but if I don't know how to sell my services, then I'm not going to be making money. Similar to you, you are great at sales, but if you cannot reach the right audience, how are you going to be able to sell your service to anyone, right? You need to be able to reach broader audience, and that's where marketing can like come in and help. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate that I've had a handful of clients that have been with me over 3 years, and so I'm well into incubating their businesses, and that's brought a lot of joy. But to your point, there comes that point when you've been patient enough with yourself and you've done enough marketing where now you need to really become great at sales, or like you said, you're naturally great at selling what you have, but you need to be honest with yourself that you need to build that marketing piece in the front end for sure.
Can you sell bad products? And what I mean by this is that, like, in the marketing world, a lot of people are trying to sell their like drop shipping product. And these are what I call bad products because they're like gimmicky product where you buy it, you use it for like 1, 2, 3 times, and then you just forget about it and you end up wasting the money. They're not product that change your life or added into your life in any way. So with from my philosophy in marketing, I don't like selling this type of thing because I feel like it is scamming like people. But there are so many like people online these days that they're doing this type of business. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, if people are doing a transactional business that they feel is great for them, I'm obviously always going to be like, hey, if you like the business you're in and it's just selling things online, great. But I'm mainly interested in the lives and people that I'm dealing with that are really trying to sell something that they're passionate about. And at the end of the day, they're trying to make some type of significant transformation, or they're trying to make some type of significant impact with what they're selling. Even if it's as simple as an insurance policy, I want to work with someone who's stoked about the actual benefits of an insurance policy. If someone's selling real estate, I want to hear like, I love first time home buyers because I can't wait for them to get their first home, because I'm so happy when I go to their like first cookies that are baking in the oven and the husband and the wife are there thanking me for helping them. That's what I want to hear from the team, right? Or a CEO that's just like, yeah, like we're selling this like basic financial service product, right? For like investors, but they can earn this, and they can earn that, and they're geeked about it, right? So the main kind of like common denominator is like, how excited are they, not just to make money, but about the actual product or service that they're speaking into the world, so to speak.
Yeah, so you're also like kind of like with your client, right? Like you want to work with people who are passionate about what they're doing and their own product, not people who just sell the product just to like make money or just to try to like scam people for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and really just the nuts and bolts of the emotional energy that's different from like, let's sit down and see whether the A and B page are converting, and then like just work on our ability to sell electronically with like no human interaction. Like I'm going to be less interested in that project as much as I am of like the life cycle of a sales agent, because as we talked about earlier, it's so much emotion to deal with people. Salespeople don't get enough credit for being able to hold those emotional states. The good ones, the really good ones that perform really well and consistently get sales done, they're able to consistently hold that emotional space for their clients, and then be able to like have those high level conversations with them and build rapport and build a bond, like you were talking about earlier, having multiple points of touch during like the marketing process and then wrapping it up all together. But for sure, the core of that is having a passion for what you sell, for sure.
Okay, so my last question, with if I can't think of anything else, it would be my last, is that what kind of advice, what advices would you be giving your younger self when you first starting in sales 20 years ago?
I would say, just like when you're trying to transform your body, you can read all the books about a million different exercises and diet, but the key thing is get in the gym and do the reps, right? And as that relates to your sales or sales career, is first make sure you're showing up on the field, in the game, doing the reps, talking to people, showing up in the ways that we've talked about, which is just being prepared, having the fundamentals, and just allow yourself to fail more. I'm a little bit of a sensitive person, and I let that sabotage different. That was like the biggest like poor issues of my sales career, because I was like, they didn't buy from me. what am I doing wrong? There was like this
Yeah.
narrative, right, that I'm falling short, right? And
taking it personally.
right, right. And so I think like the biggest thing I would tell myself is just let a lot of those no's come in so that you're learning how to get better for the next time.
Okay, I have one more question. It's gonna be my real last question. And it is, how would people find you if they need your help with either like coaching them how to be a better salesperson or help them in the whole sales process or help coach their team how to become better salespeople?
Sure. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn, Justin Cross, but the easiest way to email me directly, info@justincross.com. So info at my first and my last name, Justin Cross. And then also I'll be putting up justincross.com here if you need to reference that as well. Look forward to hearing from anybody, especially if you're just looking to move the needle with your sales or your sales team. It's worth booking a call to discover how I can help you.
Well, thank you so much for like coming to my channel. It has been like super helpful, and I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this going to be able to like relate and learn a lot from you as well.
Right back at you. I love your work. I love what you're doing with the channel. Can't wait to see how it's going to grow. Thanks for having me.